Hey everybody, it is Sally, and I am here with the lovely, and I'm so sorry, I actually don't want to pronounce your name wrong because I've never said it out loud. I've only emailed with
Yes,
you.
yeah, so it's Eleni.
Eleni, okay, cool. And Eleni is here with us from Australia. And I'm super excited to have her here. I actually found her and her website, which is galmatic.com. When I was in a business group called the Daily Whip with Eleni, and I was so impressed by her branding and her message and what she's up to in the world that I just knew I had to get to know her more. So basically, I will let her explain what her business is and her website is for you guys. But basically, what I understand is you empower women in cars. so,
Well,
well,
we don't get women into cars and start empowering them, though. Because
that
we could
sounded
just
so
go to all
bad.
sorts of stories there, couldn't we?
Oh my gosh, I'm empowering you in that car. No. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do and what your website is all about?
Okay, so we're called Gal Matic, and I guess I always explain that it's sort of from the movie Grease. So we're not hydromatic, we're not systematic, we're Galmatic. So it's an all gal sort of special car place to be. We think of it as a metaphysical garage. So obviously it's not a physical one; it's all online. But we teach car care workshops, so hands-on physical car care workshops in Australia, but we also have online course and we've got videos, and so you can come to the website even if you don't live anywhere near where our workshops are, and just get to feel more confident to play with cars and get to know your car, not be a mechanic but just feel more confident behind the wheel,
I love
more
it.
empowered in your car.
See, that's what I was getting at. so, I don't know your full story, but I imagine that you weren't always into cars or you didn't always work in the field of cars. So, tell us a little bit about how you got from where you were to what you're doing now.
Okay, well, I've had my very first car when I was 16 and learnt to drive, which I still have, which is a 1955. It's a Holden. So in the States, you'd know it more as a General Motors. They own Holden here. And it was a cute little 50s car with fins and bubble, and it's got a couple of things under the bonnet. And every time something would go wrong, the good looking boyfriend with a quiff would, fix it. And as you get older, you start having decisions that are more intelligent when it comes to choosing boyfriends and life partners other than he can fix my old car. And
Maybe.
as yeah, as I went through my work background, I was a professional ballroom dance instructor, and then from that went into corporate training. So I've always been in that training field. But when it came to cars, I really, really liked having my car. But when I wasn't asking someone else to fix it, I had no idea how to check the oil, the coolant. And as cars have gotten more modern, I've got an everyday car that's a normal car and has, a computer system and everything in it. I found that there's nowhere to go to just know what to do to maintain it. And something we say in our workshops all the time is you'll buy a pair of $300 shoes and spend the $6 on the Scotch Guard, but you'll spend tens of thousands of dollars, and in some cases, even more, to buy a vehicle, but you don't do anything other than take it to the mechanic when something goes wrong. And so you're worried about the $300 high heels, but not, the $60,000 vehicle. So I saw a little bit of a gap there, and as the years went by and I was training, this wonderful thing called motherhood comes around, and I was going to have baby number one and go straight back to work 3 weeks later. And then, of course, the tears started. It's like, I can't leave her. And I thought, well, this is my chance to go out on my own. And that was, she's now 8.
Oh my
And so there's
gosh.
now 2 little girls. And so that's what drove me to think, okay, well, I have this idea. I had it since I was 16, and it's now time to run with it and to take it out of the idea phase. So it only took me, 20 years or something to get it out. But yeah, so I started it and it's going really, really well. So it's been fantastic.
So, how long was it from when you decided to take it out of the idea phase to where you were making money and having it be a like a functioning business for yourself.
Yeah. So when people stop calling it my hobby, don't you love that term, the hobby business?
Yes.
It pays the bills business. Look, Sally, I think the hard thing is that it was an idea in my head, and whenever I would tell somebody about it, they'd say, "Oh, that's great!" Like, it's not a product that's not needed. So I always knew that if I did a good job of it, that it would, at least not be embarrassing. So I thought, even if it makes no money, it's not like I'm selling some seedy product that I can't tell anyone about. It's not like I have to hide in the school playground. And from idea phase, what I did really, really well, I think, is that I mapped out what I wanted from it, and I was very particular about which way to go, so that as I went down the track, it sort of fell into place really well. So I knew straight up that I really wanted to align with partners, and by partners I mean other companies I could work with, because I worked out very quickly, if I have one workshop with 10 people in it, what happens is I'm really excited, but then I've got that workshop's over. I've then got to market to get another 10 people for the next workshop. So I align myself with partners that basically give you the database or give you the people, and you run the workshops from them. So that was a big thing for me that took a long time, because when you're brand new, it's very hard to get big companies wanting to align with you, because they think you're just a mum in a lounge room with a computer and a baby trying to run a business.
Which you kind of are probably at first.
Which you are. And I got a very, very good piece of advice from a lady that runs a business here in Australia. It's called Carmen's Foods, and it's a muesli bar. It's a gluten-free muesli bar. And I had followed her success from a very, very small company, and now she's huge, and her company sells all over the world. And I thought of her and rang her, and I was on a Qantas flight. So Qantas is Australia's biggest airline, and her little muesli bars were the little free sort of piece of food that you got on the flight. And I thought, how did she get into Qantas? So I just sent her an email and said, "Hi, my name's Eleni. This is what I do. I'd love to talk to you." And the main thing I asked her was, I'm little and I'm young. Little and young as in business.
I thought you meant tiny as in...
Obviously not 16 anymore, but little and young as in business. And I said, I wanted, one really big thing for me was I wanted to align with a petroleum company, because I thought, cars, if I can, get into a car with a big oil company, then that would be fantastic. So I said, I'm really small. And the best piece of advice she said to me was, don't pretend to be a size that you're not. So it's very evident if they go searching, they'll know that you haven't been around 10 years and you don't have a database of, 60,000 people. So she said, just be the size you are and don't be apologetic about it, and go in there and say, what do you need? What do you want? What doesn't your market get from you at the moment that I can give you? And she said, don't do PowerPoints. Don't go in with all this fancy stuff. Walk in, look great, know your product, and make sure you walk out of there making them feel like they need you. And so it's something that stuck with me, because I thought, okay, I don't have to worry that I work from home. And now I don't, because there's no reason for me to hire an office to sit there all by myself. So it really sort of struck with me, don't apologize for the size you are, and go in there, and everybody is still just a person in a job. So even though it's a big company, it's still normal sized people like you running those positions. So it's very easy then to converse one-on-one, rather than always worrying that they were a big petroleum company, or for, anybody else, always worrying that someone's bigger than you are. So that was really pertinent straight up for me, and that made a big change up here for me, which made it then easier to stay on track when, you go from that stage. And I'm sure some of your followers will be there. You check the bank account every morning. You go, it's still only $42 that no one made a sale last night. So when you can get out of that phase and you only have to check once a week, that's very exciting. So being able to know where you're going removes that stress of when you're still at that startup phase, or even when you're just launching a new product and you launch it and no one buys it, and it's so devastating and stuff like that. So that was important for me.
Yeah, and one of the things I love about what you said is two of the things that stuck out the most for me right now were You were very clear on where you wanted to go and what you wanted to create and what you wanted. And the other part of that was being also where you're at right now. So it sounded like it's holding both of them, right? It's like, I know I want this thing to happen, but I'm also not going to apologize for where I'm at. I'm going to operate within the stage that I'm at right now, not apologize for it. Look great, be great, have a great product that they can't say no to. And then ultimately, by doing that enough times, you get to there.
Yeah, and I think what's hard too, Sally, is that, when you'll do courses or you'll read books, and they always say, if you believe in it, it'll happen, and you get all of that sort of your positive thinking. That's really great, but it still doesn't give you action steps. So, you can run around in your mechanic shirt and have all these like great ideas, but unless you're actioning it, nothing actually happens. So something that I did, and I do it every 6 months, was, so when I started, I wrote down exactly where I wanted GalMatic to be, up into La La Land, and our vision is to not have any female deaths on Australian roads. So obviously, that's really big picture, hard to achieve, but we wrote down everything that I wanted from here to there. And then every 6 months, I get 10 to 12 women over. So I invite 3 or 4 friends or work colleagues, and they all bring one person that I don't know. And we do what I call a strategy session. So I sit down and say, here's the big picture, here's where we're at, and we break it down into certain areas. And then they break away into little breakup groups, and they come up with all these like great ideas, and then we all get back together. And I'm of Greek heritage, so there's lots of eating involved. Because if you feed women, you get really good ideas coming out. And that way, every 6 months, I've got, 10, 11 other people saying, oh, that's great, but I think your website doesn't work because of these 3 things. Or, I know what you do, but I went to your website and I still don't get it. I still don't know, am I supposed to do a course or am I supposed to do this? So it's fantastic to get other people's ideas and feedback, and people you don't know, and people surprise you. The best feedback I got was from one lady that was in banking, and we weren't discussing financial stuff. She was just saying, well, I didn't understand your branding at all. I thought you were so cute, but I really liked your website, but I still didn't get what you did. And this was like a website ago, and I thought, what do you mean you don't get? I've got a wrench. We're under a car. And she said, I just thought you were a cute girl under a car holding a wrench. And so, it's great to get external feedback, especially when you're working on your own. So I do that every 6 months.
I think that's a really brilliant model. Oh, I'm echoing. Can you hear me echo?
No, you sound perfect.
Okay. Well, then I will just deal with it. I think a lot of times we're actually afraid to reach out for help. We're afraid to not know what we're doing, and also afraid to show other people that, like, hey, this isn't really working.
Yes.
And I think that actually prevents a lot of us from getting the help that we actually need. And so I love this. I want to steal it, and I'm going to like...
You can't steal it.
I
so
want
always
to.
A financial banker there, because banking is not really good at that. But it's the thing, it's getting past when we start off, often, and not everyone's like this, but I know from the female women I've worked with, we've all started off wanting to look bigger than what we are, like embarrassed to say startup, or embarrassed to say you're my first client, or embarrassed to say this is my first workshop. And then I find the next stage is we're so busy worrying about how it looks that we don't think about how it works. So always turning around and thinking, okay, here's my product or here's my business, pretending you're your customer, and how do I action that? I found it hilarious that you go to my website and you just thought we were cute, and I just thought, oh no. And I tried so hard to have no pink on the website, because I thought, women and cars are associated with checkered flag bikinis and sort of sitting there like that under a car, but then I didn't want us to look like men. So that's why we have that sort of retro Rosie the Riveter 40s, 50s look. But she just thought that was cute. So it's always good to step out and then come back in with fresh eyes and say, what am I trying to do? And always having action steps to get there. Because, you'll watch a video and it'll say, build your list. We call it passengers. So get more passengers in the car. And then you watch another video that tells you how to get those passengers, how to do something. But unless you actually sit down and do an action step to get more passengers or to get the contact list doesn't grow.
Yeah.
So I think it's getting that balance of idea, planning, getting other people's ideas, but then you've got to do something. So you have to action it. It may be wrong, but at least then you've done something that you've got historical data to go back on to say, yep, that didn't work, change it.
I love that too, because I think a lot of times we get stuck in the information stage where it's like, I need another course, or I can't roll out my
need another opinion, or that's only $49 and they're going to tell me what's wrong with my website, which is good. So you're getting all of these opinions, but unless you action on the advice that you're given, you still stay in that same one. And I'm sure like everyone can relate to, you follow people or you read their emails and you go, oh my goodness, a year ago they were this small and now they're that big, but they're probably very action orientated. So it's balancing that passion and that entrepreneur side of you with actually being action orientated. And if you're no good at it, something I'm terrible at is cold calling. So if I ring someone, I hang up the phone and I know the names of their children. They think I'm too cute and everything's all exciting. No action whatsoever has happened. And then I have to ring them back again. Just like, oh, by the way, I'm trying to talk to you about what I do. So I can't do it. I tried. GalMatic's 7 years old. I've been trying for 7 years. I still can't do it. So I just know I can't do it. So I've got to get someone else to do that. So it's about knowing, trying, and if you just can't do it, then come to terms with you can't do it and get somebody else to do that bit. Don't just not do that action.
I love it. I love it. So I imagine you're in a field that is predominantly male-based.
Yes.
So I imagine that you get attitude, or at least some people thinking, or I don't know. I like to call it like throwing tomatoes at you.
We get the opposite. So we are, as a car culture, I think traditionally boys are brought up to want cars, like cars, be around cars. Girls aren't. We unfortunately let a girl get a driver's license, and we're very happy to stick our daughters into cars and let them drive off, having zero car knowledge with a machine that can, you guys are in miles per hour. So I won't say kilometers, but to go very fast, so I don't get the kilometer miles per hour mixed wrong, but they go very, very fast, and we're happy to let them go off, whereas we think it's quite cool that boys will stay home and tinker with their cars. So it's about getting that cultural mind shift that way. But everyone we deal with is male, and they're lovely. No one has been rude to us. No one has been condescending to us. They've been very, very helpful. We don't meet a lot of women in the industry, but when you do, they're usually quite, oh, great, come on board, we'll help out where we can. So no one has been anything. We have a cartoon character, which is Georgie. So she's our mascot, and because she's a cartoon, she can get away with cheeky stuff. So she says things like, find your dipstick so you can get rid of the one in the passenger seat and stuff like that. So she can get away with saying that cliched car girl stuff, so that we're still taking a bit of a joke out of it. But some of the boys always say, oh, we want a calendar of Georgie in our mechanic workshop instead of the booby girl. So, it's quite funny, and no one's been rude. So I've loved it. And I've thought, if you're female and you're scared of going into a predominantly male industry, if you're just you, I have found that they're great. They don't seem offended. They quite like it. There's another dynamic in the business that's not just male focused. Mm-hmm. And we work with a really big tyre company here in Australia, and they just said, we know women come to our stores. We would like women to come to our stores. We're all males, franchisees buy the stores. They employ male tyre fitters. It's not that we don't want women. They're just not gravitating to this industry, which makes us very male dominant in our thinking. So they're more than happy to get that female perspective from some women. So no, we found the opposite to what everyone assumes we would find. Boys like girls. That's the basis, isn't it? Boys like having girls around.
Well, and I love what you said about all you have to do is be yourself. Yeah. And I think that ties into what you said earlier about not being bigger than you are, or accepting where you're at. And I find this a lot of times with everything in general. If you just approach things with authenticity and honesty, like, hey, I'm new, but whatever, or I'm me and I'm doing this and this is really awesome. then people respond really well to that, no matter what the thing is. You know, I think that energy of being who you are translates into friendships and opportunities and sales and Skype sessions.
Yeah, and everyone too, Sally, will always say, know your brand, know your company culture. But sometimes, you speak to people, they go, I don't know what the brand is. So my advice is know what you're very good at, know where your strengths are, and know what you want to do with that. And the branding will come by itself. So we just knew we didn't want to look butch and aggressive. We didn't want to be, frangipani stickers everywhere and look like Betty Boop under a car. So we didn't want to have those two extremes. And so we realized that, something women don't think about is driving's one thing we've never had to fight for. So since the very first motor car, women have been driving. They haven't had to prove it. They haven't had to fight for it. No one's ever said don't drive. And I think maybe because we've never had to fight for it, here we are all these years later, and we still are happy to be ignorant about vehicles and driving and the safety of our children and our families and our friends. And so the brand emerged because we realized, Rosie the Riveter, that sort of famous 40s,
Yes, I love her.
Women during war were working on cars. Women had been driving before then. Women have kept driving. So that's how our brand emerged, by saying we're not men. We're happy to be women, but we don't want to just make it pink. So a boy product with a pink cover on it. What identifies people with that is that Rosie the Riveter, that 1940s, the handkerchief. So that's how it emerged, almost through osmosis, sort of like just taking everything we wanted to do. So rather than worrying about your brand or, knowing that well, just know what your product is and what you want to do and who you're servicing, and then you'll find that it'll emerge. And if you have to change your logo or your colours, don't panic. It's okay. But I have so many friends that spend 8 months worrying about the business card. They've got to get the business card. Nothing. 7 years, I've handed out 2 business cards.
Yeah, well, I think that's usually just distraction, I find, because people are scared and they don't, they're scared of the business, and so they're trying to do distraction so that they don't actually have to, like what you said, roll it out. Just take action. And I love that. I think that the best brands that I've ever seen are ones that seem to come out of like who the person naturally is.
Yep.
And their people find them, like maybe those, flag wearing bikini girls, that might
who
not
are hot.
Who are hot.
Yeah, and have the job. And as you see them, you go, I wonder if I'd look good in that. Absolutely not. You would look like,
yeah.
I think they're great. And that's something that we've really, really, stuck by, saying that every single female in any job that's in the auto or racing or anything car related, fantastic. The problem is there's just not enough women culturally worrying about driving a car. So they might be, looking hot in a store, but we're happy to let our daughters get into cars not knowing about their machine. But if you're at McDonald's, they don't let you use the chip fryer without showing you how to use it. But we're happy to let women drive cars with their kids in the car with zero knowledge. And not just safety, but you spend thousands of dollars because you do things wrong. And something we teach is to women, they'll say, just go get a service. And they go to the mechanic and say, I want a full service, and then get upset that it's expensive. And the car doesn't need a full service. But it's like going to the hairdresser and saying, I need a cut and colour, and they're getting upset it's $200. Whereas you can just go in and say, I need a trim. I don't need the wash and the blow dry. I just need a trim. That's only $45. So we teach women how to get to know their car so that they save money. And if we can just do one little step every 10 years, in 100 years, there'll be no deaths on Australian roads ever.
So I love it. And so what are your your best tidbits of advice? So if somebody watching is like, what can I do today to start to get to know my car better? What do you suggest that they do? Okay,
so first thing that you want to know is work out what fuel you're putting into your car. So you've got your ethanol-based cheaper fuels, and then you've got your really high-octane expensive fuels. Work out what fuel you should be putting into your car. So the higher the octane level in the fuel, the cleaner it looks after your engine, so the more mileage you'll get out of it. So really look at fuel, and even though it's more expensive, it's not as expensive as it is in Australia. But even if it's more expensive, you're going to get longevity out of the engine. The other thing is just feel comfortable with the noises it makes. So if it's going to start making funny noises, then you know something's gone wrong. Don't ignore them. It could be something quite simple. So get to know your car by driving with no radio on, no iPod on, like get to know what it sounds like. Not all the time, but just so that you're used to it. Check the oil and the coolant once a month, because you're going to know if there's a leak. So you're going to see, oh, that's gone down and it never used to. So just those two things, because if you overheat an engine or if you don't put oil in an engine, you'll blow the engine and you're looking at thousands of dollars.
Okay.
The other thing too is just start to be aware that it's a machine and it doesn't hate you. It's one of the best relationships you have. You've kissed people in it. You've dreamt in it. You've sat in traffic thinking about, where you're going in it. And as any relationship, if you ignore it, it's going to leave you. So just foster, get to know it, give it a name, get to know it, listen to it. All it wants is oil, water, and fuel. And as it gets older, parts will wear. So it's not that it's an unlucky car. It's just that part's worn out, so you've got to put a new part in, and that part will give you another 100,000 miles. So it's just about thinking of less of it as a product and more as a relationship. So it's, the best relationship you'll have, apart from the ones that, it doesn't let you down, it lets you talk, it doesn't tell you look bad in an outfit, it drives in the rain, it keeps going, and it goes. Cars usually will keep going way past after you've looked after them. So, they're pretty good like that. So it's a nice relationship.
I love that. I love that metaphor, or way of looking at it like a relationship. If you do tend to it, if you communicate, if you take care of problems as they arise and don't let them wear on and on, then the relationship lasts longer than otherwise.
Look, I know most people I know have had longer relationships with their cars in their teens than they have
gosh.
with...
My car has outlasted all of my boyfriends.
Yes, at last. So when you're between disappointments, your car is still there.
My car is a constant.
It is. And something that's really funny, Sally, is when you ask a boy if they break up with someone, usually they drive a car to a destination and then let it out the way they need to. Women seem to drive when upset. Tears are rolling down. Oh, I better go for a drive. And let's get driving around.
I've definitely done that. I've definitely done it.
Because you've got a relationship with your car. Your car's going to listen. It's not going to judge you. It's not going to side with the other person. It just sits there and says, talk.
Well, and it holds me, it's the container.
It makes you warm and dry.
I love it. I'm going to take that with me for sure, car and relationship. So let's see. Before we jump out of here and you tell us about your services and products that you offer, I have one last question. So my brand is the Wildheart Revolution, and it's all about wildhearting and being a wild heart, and it's a lifestyle. So what does that mean to you? What does being a wild heart, what do you think that means?
Okay, I always think of the Larry White song, Wild at Heart, when I think of you. So, and I know you like country. But to me, it's about... I think really knowing who you are and what you enjoy doing. And I know that you hear that all the time, but for me, when people describe me, they say, oh, she's great with people, she's really funny, but it's about being able to draw further into that. So I'm good with people, but I'm actually good with people in a certain way. And I may be certain, it's about taking the top line words people would describe you and really nutting it down so that you actually know what you're really good at. So I'm really happy and funny, but what I actually am is an entertainer. So it's about being able to drill down, and once you really, really know what you're really, really good at, that's when I think you're really wild at heart, because that's knowing what you're good at, not just the top line. And I think that's what we do wrong when we do goal setting or thinking about what we are or that, if people describe you in 5 words, that they're so top line. It's like when people say, what do you want to be? And they say happy. And it's like, well, I'm happy eating chocolate, but it doesn't pay the bills, does it? So it's about really being able to drill down to say, I am gregarious, or I am good with people face to face, or just really working out what you're good at and being comfortable in your skin. I'm 42. It's taken pretty much, 30 years to get to here, but you work out that you got to take me the way I am, and I may be very, very full on, but I'm full on all the time. So I'm sorry when you're depressed that you still find me a little bit too much. Bad luck. Stop apologizing for who you are. And I think as women we do that, and if there's, we apologize for who we are, and it's always like, I'm so sorry that I'm behaving this way at this time. It's like, you are who you are, know your strengths, know your weaknesses. Obviously try and build on traits you don't like, but just be comfortable in your skin. And I'm 42, and I know at 82 when all the lines sit in and I'm still wearing red lipstick, that I just think I just want to age disgracefully and still have the red lipstick with the line so it all spreads all over the foundation. But it's just being comfortable in your own skin and accepting compliments. When somebody says, oh, gee, I really like a business, don't apologize for it and say, oh, do you? Oh, I hated the website, but I tried to fix it. Just go, great, thanks. What do you like about it? Or thank you, what do you like about me? So, start really getting to know what makes you maverick, what makes you wild at heart, and go with it. But always as a kind person.
Yes.
Because, sometimes you just want to go shoot people. Oh, how can you not like my business? Not too wild at heart, like Wild West stuff, but
No, I hear you. Love who you are. Get to the essence of what that is. I love what you said. Like, at the essence of your personality is entertainer, and as long as you're entertaining, no matter what field you're in or business you're running, as long as you're connecting to that part of yourself, you're going to feel more fulfilled, because that's the essence of your gregariousness, and your connection with people at the heart of it is entertaining. So I find that super important.
When you're doing a boring chore, so when you're just reading through emails, or if you're just doing, accounting, I know there are some people that love it and very good, and I wish I was like you. But when I have to do, the receipt stuff, I go into this panic attack. Remembering what makes me feel good means that I can do it with music on, or, jumping around or whatever. If you always know what your core essence is, you can bring it into every task, which makes stuff you don't like doing that you have to do that little bit easier. So like when I do the ironing, I always watch 1940s movies. Veronica Lake, and I do the whole big, while I'm ironing, so that I get, it's just about, getting through those things. So really, that's what Wild at Heart to me is. Really, Wild Heart is knowing who you are, not necessarily top line, but, really just getting that core of yourself out there and going for it and enjoying it.
Great. Thank you for the advice. I love it. So why don't you tell us what you are offering right now, your products and services, and where we can all find you?
Well, I think you should all come to Australia and come and do a hands-on workshop. Or maybe I should come to you.
Come to us. Come to us.
Yeah, that would be great, yeah. So what we do, so if you go to GalMatic.com, so have a look at our website, and it's website in 7 years, number 5. So for everyone out there, don't panic. The website you have now has to stay with your whole life. The first one we had Flash, in the old days where Flash and had cartoons and stuff. Gee, that's changed. So jump onto GalMatic.com and have a look at our online workshops. So we've got our hands-on course is online. So it's got videos, it's got workbooks, it's got handbooks, perfect for young girls learning to drive or women that drive a lot for work. So, when you're always in that car, having that relationship driving from, especially if anyone that's a sales rep that's always in their car, gives you all those tips on how to have an office in a car without it looking like your house is in there. So, that's really good. It's really an inexpensive way. And we've also got a great iPad app. So for less than a cup of coffee, you can have a 24/7 mechanic in your handbag on your iPad. So, and everything we do is no jargon. It's just visual, it's fun, and you will feel like Rosie the Riveter after any dose of GalMatic.
Well, I can attest to this and say with certainty that is true. I actually am on your list. I've signed up for your newsletter, and you send out.
So you're a passenger.
I'm a passenger, and you send out really helpful easy to understand videos every week that teach you, I think last week was you taught me how to change my tire, and then this week was how to check my oil. So if you guys...
Can I tell you what the most popular one is,
Yes.
Sally? So of all, the most popular video is tips on backseat kissing. Go figure.
Well, that's
and because obviously...
Go ahead.
And because it's visual, we didn't, necessarily want to, use real people. So we used racing car Barbie and Elvis Ken.
Oh my God.
So jump into our YouTube page and check out, we called it Going Parking.
Going Parking. I love it. So what's your YouTube channel in case people want to just check out your videos?
So it's just GalMatic. So anywhere you go on any social platform, just type in GalMatic and we will appear.
All right, awesome. So make sure Wildheart
and I want to hear everybody that uses the backseat tips. Leave a comment and let us know how much kissing you do. It's hilarious. People will email me and say, "Oh, I don't remember the last time someone kissed me in a car." Or people that go, "I don't live at home. I only kiss in cars."
Yes, let's all watch that video. Maybe I'll post a link to it after this video, and we can all report on how the kissing in the cars goes.
Yes, and I hope everyone gets kissed lots and lots, but not while driving.
No, of course not. Eleni, thank you so much for joining us today.
And thanks for inviting me.
And sharing your wisdom and your stories and your awesome, awesome advice. So I just want to send an official Wildheart hello and goodbye for now, and hope to see you again soon in the group.
Sounds great. Happy cruising to everyone.